This episode has been brought to you from the DGMS Studios, home of Don't Get Me Started, Lethal and Mully Live and Surftown. Found at Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music and wherever you listen to your podcast. Welcome to Lethal and Mully Live, the podcast where we look into the wild, the wicked and the wonderful. I'm Lethal.
And I'm Mully. Together we're your guides through the chaotic universe of pop culture, current affairs, interviews and everything in between.
Each week we'll bring you the hottest topics, the craziest stories and the interesting guests. We have debates, laughter and maybe a few surprises along the way.
Wherever you are tuning in, from your car, your couch or wherever you find your podcast fix, we are here to entertain, inform and keep you company.
So grab your favourite snack, settle in and get ready for a wild ride. It's time to get lethal. And remember, stay curious and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, dear listeners. And today it's a very special episode because I am taking the lead to introduce this podcast. Normally it's my co-host who sits across the desk from me, the one and only, the tech maestro, the pod master himself, the style guru, the man who makes many a heart flutter and female swoon and men jealous. And at times, if you look at his attire, you think, there goes a guy who knows how to wear a suit. Yes, I know he's English, but we won't hold that against him. He's not a Pom. I think he's English. Although he likes to fit in with the Aussies and he thinks, well, the Aussies are a bit of a rough bunch, so I'll come across as a Pom. But I think deep down inside, he's an Englishman. If he was ever to go to a sort of a gentleman's club or an exclusive professional venue like the Foreign Correspondents Club, I think he'd find it himself right at home. And what he'd really like to do is go to one of those big leather couches that have all the pinched backs on them, the Chesterfields, and settle in. And as the waiter came up in his suit with a little stripe down the side of his trousers, he'd say, would sir like a beer? And he would say, no, sir, would like a G&T. Thank you. So that's the type of man that he is. Now, for all of that, he's actually a good bloke. And he's sitting across the desk from me now. And he said, look, the whole theme of this episode today is reviewing the news. So we did some research and we picked out some topics from the newspaper, only from the newspaper, that we would talk about. And normally he's very diligent because, as I said, he's a man of many talents with great attributes. Normally he would be right on top of his game and he'd have everything on the desk here prepared. But today he can't find the newspaper where we've highlighted all the articles that we're going to talk about. So, which is most unusual. This guy crosses his T, dots his I. He is a man who likes quality and performs with quality. And he's lost the bloody newspaper. So coming here, I had to rush into the news agency and buy the Queensland Daily Rag, which is called the Courier Mail. Now, we know that newspapers these days are not being purchased and read as much as they were in the past because people now go online, they go to their news apps, they go to various podcasters, various echo chambers, various professional opinion givers to get their news on what's happening in the world. But poor old newspapers, because, well, I think I'm a little biased here, I actually started my working life in a newspaper factory as a printer. So I have a soft spot in my heart for newspapers. But poor old newspapers are just getting slammed left, right and centre these days because of so much competition. So I thought if we're going to review the news, let's give newspapers a fair shot. Let's go to newspapers. That's what they're called. That's what they label themselves. Papers that give us the news. Let's go to them to see what they can offer for today's serving of news for Lee and myself to review the news. Because of Lee's tardy characteristic behaviour in losing all our prepared notes, I have done a little bit of quick preparation here, so I'm going to fly off over the table to Lee and he's going to have to jump in and bounce off what I have to say to him concerning the news. Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Well, Keith, I never thought I would get there, mate. I was waiting to jump in. What a introduction, Keith. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be with you, and it's nice to see you start the show. The intro for me, I thought I was in a movie for a second. I thought it was James Bond in some foreign correspondent bar. How cool would that be?
Well, I think we can make that happen one day, Lee. I'm not sure I can fit you into a 00 role where you have license to thrill. I mean, kill.
Have you ever worn a tuxedo?
No, I haven't.
I have, and I tell you, doesn't matter your size, shape, or your looks, you feel like James Bond regardless. I had a school dinner back in the UK once. My wife and I got dressed up. I had to wear a tuxedo. I'm telling you, all I was missing was my water PP7, whatever it is, the water PPK. You feel like James. Now, talking about James and talking about news, we were talking this week about who the next James Bond's going to be. Going to be very interesting. What do you think, mate? But you're not that into it, are you?
Oh, no, actually, I
Do you know the main game players? Aaron Taylor-Johnson's one. Henry Cavill is another. Superman.
Don't know.
There's another one.
Is he English?
Yeah.
They'd have to be, wouldn't they?
I did recommend a movie, The Bullet Train, that the guy I mentioned, he's in it. He's excellent. So have a look.
I went searching for that on the internet the other day and I couldn't find it. And then you told me why I couldn't find it, because I was looking for the speed train.
Steam train.
Speed. It's like, I can't find it, Lee. Where's this movie you're writing
Thomas
about?
the Tank Engine you were looking for, did you say?
May as well have. Probably would have found it.
But, mate, thank you for that. It's great to be here. And with the papers, yes, I take responsibility for that. But I did remember somebody take the papers when they should have left the papers, that I had to ask for them back. And now they've gone. Anyway, as Keith has already mentioned, he's got the paper in front of him. We're going to review the news. It's a review the news too. Keith's going to throw some out. He's fired up. He's ready to go. He's got his Rolling Stone T-shirt on, the 40 licks, and what would Mick go? What would he say?
Oh, Mick would be bouncing and, he'd strut in here the way that he does, and he'd sit down and he'd be quite reserved. He holds back a lot.
You reckon?
Mick, yeah.
Oh, I reckon with those stripy pants, mate, he'd be going for it.
On the stage, he projects, but privately, he's very composed. You have to draw it out of him. I'm reading a book at the moment, Russian historical book about Catherine the Great and her lover Potemkin. And on the back of it's quite a thick book, it's about 400 or 500 pages. Very, very, very good read, I might add. A lot of these history books that I read, they have reviews, famous authors, famous people who will give their opinion on what the book is like. And down the bottom of all these celebrity reviewers is Mick Jagger's name. And Mick is saying, it's a very good read. Now, he didn't say much more than that, but he obviously read this very thick, substantial history book.
Mick said it was a good read. You wouldn't think that Mick could read, could you?
Well, this is my point. It's easy to write him off as a gyrating, bouncing, hip-swelling
60s heartthrob.
Yeah, who's now 80s heartthrob. You'd think that's all he is. I mean, 80s in age.
5 years' time, Molly, the 80s would be 50 years ago.
There you go.
What the?
It's worth us hanging around for, isn't it?
Jaws the movie. No, 50 years old.
Stay with Mick.
Okay.
And anyway, so Mick gave the book a big tick. So the Stones have substance.
They have presence, that's for sure. Well, they have music.
Let's go back to review.
Go, Keith.
Let's go.
It's your T-shirt.
I'm trying to review the news. So,
okay.
As I said, I grabbed Queensland's #1 paper, which is called the Courier Mail, and I have to say I'm very disappointed because most of the articles in here are lifestyle magazines and little trivia crime events that are happening around the state. This Telegraph poll was in the wrong place, and wouldn't it be better if we had more train stations? And the spinal injury unit is a betrayal because the Liberal National Party hasn't come through as much as they'd promised, and, all this sort of stuff. So it's not really giving us news of the world or even nationally what's happening. But on page 9, I did come across this one concerning the future King of England, who some people refer to as Wills, and I believe his name is
William.
Prince William. He'd be a Windsor, wouldn't he?
Yes, he is a Windsor before he was king. What was his title?
I have no idea. Prince Charles of Wales?
Prince of Wales. So, yeah, he's not...
Let me see what it says here, which prince
He's the Prince of Wales.
Is William the Prince of Wales?
Yeah.
Is he?
He's taken over Charlie's title.
What did Harry get?
Harry, he got the short straw.
He got kicked out.
Poor old Harry, he got red hair.
He got kicked out.
He got Meghan.
Okay, be kind, Lee. Be kind. All right, we can have.
He's the spare. Poor Will.
We can have a critical eye, but let's be kind.
Yeah, now, page 9.
Page
William.
9. There's a picture of William there, and I've got to say,
hey, you're meant to be in charge. Come on.
I am in charge. And anyway, he's in army fatigues, camouflage gear. He's got a blue beret on, which has got the little slouch down,
and a very nice beard
on the right side. Yeah, and he's got these groovy whiskers that seem to be fashionable these days, right? And anyway, he's going in and he's talking to Britain's Army Air Corps because he is the Commander-in-Chief. Let's picture this. He goes in to talk to as Commander-in-Chief to the British Army Air Corps. Now, over there in England at the moment, there's a lot of argy-bargy between England and Russia. And the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, says we have to spend more money on defence and we have to beef up our defence here because we are looking at a very real possibility of war with Russia. So he's beating the war drum. So he's getting the message out that they have to be prepared.
I just don't think it's him. I think it's a lot of main players in Europe that are starting to beat that drum too.
Well, they are. And England's right up the front as much as anybody else,
the pointy
right?
end.
So the Colonel-in-Chief
Will
goes in to talk to the soldiers. And while he's there, and he comes in casually with his groovy beards and his open neck, looking like he should.
has he got his fatigues on?
Yeah, but he's still looking stylish, right? Like he's just killing
He's
it.
6'4".
Yeah, he's broad shoulders. He's a good looking dude. You know, he's just
Has no hair.
Probably why he's got the beret on.
That's right.
So he says, guys,
Does he?
how you
Did he
go-
start it off with that?
Well, it's casual. You know, so how you going out there, fellas? I've just popped in to say hello and, you know, how you going with your family? How often do you see them? And further to that, you deep probing psychological question about their discipline and their military readiness for battle with the evil Russians. He says, how you going with your families? He said, look, some of them might not want to see you that much. He said, it's a mixed bag. And it's like, oh.
Did he say that?
This is what it's
No.
reported in the newspaper.
It's not very royal.
That's that's half a page devoted to that.
Oh, look, he's got a blue beret,
That's what I said. This is
not a green beret.
This is from the Colonel-in-Chief. He's not coming there looking sharp and snappy and making them stand in attention and saluting properly, you know, like walking down the line, inspecting them. Soldier, your buckle is a bit tardy there. You have to shine it up. None of that. He's going, hey, go on, fellas.
Want a cup of tea? I hope that you're enjoying the podcasts and the content that we're bringing to you each week. I want to take a moment to invite you to support the show. Your contributions help us continue creating high-quality episodes, bringing in exciting guests and exploring the topics you love. Every bit helps, whether it's a small donation or signing up for our Patreon account. By supporting us, you're not just helping keeping the lights on, you're becoming part of our community and helping us grow. To show our appreciation, we offer exclusive perks, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more for our supporters. So if you love what we do and you want to see us thrive, please consider signing up at buzzsprout.com/don't get me started. Support the show. Thank you for being part of our journey, and let's keep the conversation going.
Right, let's get these battle-hardened, highly disciplined troops ready for the possible coming battle. You know, oh, guys, how you going with your family? You don't want to see them that often. It's a mixed bag, isn't it? Well, speak for yourself, I would say.
Who writes these speeches? Who does that?
I don't know, but this
I'm going to have to read that. See, this is me not having the opportunity to have a read.
That is the first article in the newspaper about world news. It's astonishing. I mean, I want the news. What is happening in this growing conflict of words between Russia, Europe and England? And we have to find out that William is talking to them about them going to visit their family. Some of these blokes might not have a family.
Right.
What if you don't have a family and William comes along and he says, oh, guys, how you going with your family? And you're sitting up the back and you're just a private that just nondescript and you're not very popular with the crew anyway and you don't have a family. And you're thinking to yourself, it's all right for you bugger. I don't have a family.
Well, it says here, it was once thought that Harry would take over the role of Colonel-in-Chief, but he was forced to relinquish his military appointments when he and Meghan stepped down from the royal life. It's a shame because Harry did serve. I don't know about William too much, whether he...
I think he was involved in the Falklands as a helicopter pilot, I believe.
Yeah, he probably was. Do we say poor Harry, or does he have to take it on the chin like everybody else and complain that he's only got $100 million in the bank?
Is that all he has?
So I heard. I think Meghan has to go out to work, or Megan has to go out to work now.
Did you know recently I became a thousandaire?
You did?
Yeah. You know, the millionaire status has evaded me, but I've hit a thousandaire.
Have you?
Yeah. I'm chuffed about that.
1,000-aire?
Yeah, I don't know what to spend it on.
What about 100-aire?
Oh, yeah, no, I achieved that a long time ago. But when I had 100 air, it was like all these people who wanted to take it off me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you used to get envelopes with handwritten name on the front, Mr. Keith McMullen, and your address was written there. You don't get them anymore these days. You get the same sized envelope, the big, long rectangle ones, but they've got little windows in it with your name typed in it. No, none of another bloody bill.
Yeah, well, it all comes through the email anyway. And we were talking about the newspaper. And it's Friday, as we're doing this podcast, it's Friday, so Keith's got the Friday paper. I'm surprised people read the papers. The information you could get on the internet like I do is phenomenal.
Well, let's get to that in a minute. Let's keep going with the content of this paper, right?
So this is Keith's review of the news too. I just stopped jumping in. So William, what made you pick William?
Well, it was about the only real article of interest that I could have a little comment on.
So nothing about the royal family, nothing about William, just that it was pricked your interest.
Like I told you before, some minor court cases.
It's a Courier Mail.
Here's people who, page number 3, there's some people who are...
Oh, thank God it's not the Sun. You'd never get past number 3.
It's got a picture of these people growing vegetables in a community garden. We've got some crime here, some people going to court charged with murder, a man in an acid attack. Then we've got spinal injury unit betrayal, which, as I mentioned before, then no wonder people are turning to the internet or the mobile phone. Hang on a sec. Let's go a little bit further. So why did I choose William? Because I couldn't find anything interesting. Now, finally, through all of that, I came to a page that says World News. So, of course, the number one headline is the guy in the Oval Office, Mr. Donald Trump. And then it goes on for a few other things. Oh, Greta gets a gig because she's...
I thought he was going to say Greta gets a gear out. I was going, no. What are you reading, Keith?
Well, she's a bit of a
Greta
saint.
gets her gig.
Greta Thunberg is on an aid ship that's going into Gaza to bring food in for the Palestinians.
Good on her.
Yeah, the Israelis are doing everything to stop that getting in there. I think they even shot at it the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff.
Oh, gee.
So, and she only gets a little mention down the bottom. So here's Greta, who's doing something which is, I think, is pretty cool and very important. And she gets a little mention down the bottom of the World News page, and Donald's got the big headlines.
Oh, God.
I mean, come on, who cares? Donald should be on the comedy page.
Oh, look, with Elon Musk at the moment, they should do skits together because it would be hilarious.
Well, it is hilarious.
Two children having a pop at one another because they're not getting what they want. Elon didn't get what he wanted. Trump's going tough-o. Elon's going, I got you the president's. Oh, it doesn't end.
Well, it's just extraordinary. And anyway, so I ploughed on through this newspaper to try and find something a little bit more interesting. And there's all these pages that are devoted to all sorts of stuff. There's a retail store called Harvey Norman, has 14 pages of advertisements.
How many?
14. There's another retail store has 21 pages of advertisements. There are 16 pages devoted to racing, horse racing, because it is the weekend. But geez, I didn't know we had so many gamblers in Queensland. And then we have 17 pages for sport. So I thought, there's got to be something good in sport. And there was. And you're going to love this. Now, the Australian cricket team are in England at the moment because very soon they're going to be taking on South Africa for the World Test Championship final. It's at Lord's next week.
You've been to Lord's?
I have not.
Incredible place.
I would love to. And I would love to go over there and watch that. I would just be enthralled. Every single ball bowled. What's happened is that the Australian cricket team did a public relations shoot in the Australian High Commission House in London, I believe it is. Yes, it was. And they had BBC's excellent female cricket commentator, Alison Mitchell, who I'm a huge fan of. She's so knowledgeable and entertaining. And anyway, one of the questions that was directed to the Australian cricket team from the press that was assembled at this public presentation of the Australian cricket team before this big test match, one of the questions was, are you guys worried that the South African team is being coached by the English fast bowler, Stuart Broad?
No.
Yes.
Get out.
And guess what happened?
They all laughed.
They did. Guess what? The paper calls them elite crowd.
Yeah.
So it would be dignitaries, and those wouldn't be any of us ordinary scrubbers.
Go on.
No ordinary scrubbers like me would be there. Just these elite crowd. They all booed.
And it's still there.
So these elite behave themselves like us unwashed scrubbers down the bottom.
Oh, it's still there, the dislike for one another. Bring it on. Is that the Ashes this year?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that. It might be. Yeah.
Now, let me just go, not off topic, but let me just put you on your back foot. Every 18 months they do the Ashes. I don't like that.
Should be less frequent, you think?
It should be every 4 years like it was before, because it's being an expatriate down here in Australia, which I love and I adore, and I've lived longer in Australia than I have in the UK, there's still that rivalry. And everybody, for me, loved that 4 years. 18 months is too quick one to enjoy the win or more the loss. And then it's again. It's just wrong. But I'm enthralled. I've got to read that later on, that little excerpt. And I didn't even know Stuart Broad was coaching.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the most exciting thing that I can get out of these newspapers.
Well, it's got to be low for you then, Mully.
Yeah, I've been like 21 pages for the good guys advertising electrical goods, 14 pages for their rivals, Harvey Norman.
Yeah, okay. Harvey Norman, the end of the financial year.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Like if we got UK listeners, the end of the tax year, I think, is April in the UK. It's the 31st of June here. So you've got to buy everything before the end of the financial year.
30th of June.
30th of June.
Only 30 days in June.
Is there? You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
30th of June. So you've got to make sure any spare money, which I don't have, you have to buy. And they're going, here it is. Buy now, pay later.
I'm a thousandaire. I can lend you a quid or a
Could you?
dollar. Yeah.
A quid?
Just give me a little buzz. No interest.
A thousandaire. Well, maybe if you've got a lazy 500 lying around.
Yeah, but you never know.
You never know.
Well, it depends how well you treat me in our podcast, you know. Sometimes you put the bird in.
I always treat you good, mate. Always.
Oh, yeah, you do. So anyway, look, people in newspapers, shops and businesses have been advertising in newspapers for time immemorial, so whatever the saying is, for as long as you can remember. So that's fine. If you put so many pages of ads in, you would have thought it would have padded the newspaper out because there's so much news to put in the paper. But there's very little news. And this paper is actually thin, even with all these 21, 35, 45, 51, they're like 50-odd pages of advertisements and sport and trivia.
Got a little bit of trivia for you. The elite, when they used to get their newspapers, where they had the servants come up with the morning newspaper, they used to iron the papers.
Did they?
Not to make them crisp and clean, but they didn't want to get ink on their fingers. So they'd iron them.
Well, I don't think there's too many people going to have to worry about that now because not many people are buying these things.
You wouldn't even think now it'd be fish and chips, where today's news is tomorrow fish and chips wrappers. Yeah. I don't think they even wrap them in the old newspapers anymore.
I was very disappointed in this. Mind you, I haven't bought
you sound it.
I haven't brought the Courier Mail to find out the news.
And you won't be doing it again.
For a long time. So I thought, well, while I'm here, I have the microphone and I'm running the show, I'll go to the ABC, the Australian Broadcast Commission, and go onto their app and I'll have a look at what their news headlines.
Right.
So we've got Gold Coast residents slugged one-off $10 payment for cyclone cleanup. That's important.
This headline news.
Yep. Sorry, that was just in. I don't know what that's about. Jumping castle operator found not guilty for criminal offence in Hillcrest tragedy, which is news. That's down in Tasmania, I believe. A couple of court cases, a murder case. They're all local stuff here in Australia. Here we go. He's popped up again. He's everywhere. Donald Musk is possibly in the Epstein files, according to Elon Musk.
Donald Musk.
Donald Trump. Did I say Musk?
You did.
So I'm so excited with all of this.
But again, we all know that, or do we? Allegedly.
Then there's news here of the ASX, which is the Australian Stock Exchange, is having a bit of jitters at the moment. Doesn't worry us, thousandaires, Lee.
No, you're beyond that, mate.
That far beyond, I don't even have 2 shares. Papua New Guinea police have issued a warrant for an Australian guy who had a very high position in the Anti-Corrupt Commission. 4-day winter storm, Maori Party, that's over in New Zealand, MP receives order to be suspended from Parliament because they did an Indigenous dance called the haka. So, I mean, like, geez, this isn't, I'm sorry, I'm not that impressed either. I mean, come on. What's happening with the news of the all that's happening in Africa? I know there's a terrible civil war in Sudan, but what's happening in Sierra Leone? What's happening in Democratic Republic of Congo? What's happening in Paraguay? Do you know?
South America. No.
There's a little country just above Brazil called Suriname. You never hear about it. There's always news happening over there. And does it make it into the world page in our state newspaper?
It's all changed, Mully. You know that.
Oh, my God.
Now, you get the weekend newspaper. At least you've got a travel magazine, and then you've got the weekend, whatever the magazine is, tell you what's going on, the shows. Go see this, go do that, do this. That's another nice thing to do. It just gets you a nice weekend buzz.
Yes.
But I'm surprised. I didn't even know. I mean, how much was that newspaper?
$3.
$3. So when we thought, okay, we'll review the news too, which we're doing now, we get the Sunday magazine. And I thought, I'll just have a look. $5.50. And I'm thinking, who who probably old school, like myself and you, would do it, but I don't. I'm online. If you look at my reading material that I look at, it's all over the place and you just get swamped with the news, and I love that. These papers, they're run by you-know-who.
Yeah, Murdoch.
They dictate.
Yes.
They tell you.
Yeah.
They tell you, this is what you're going to read, this is what I'm going to inform you about.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, they do. They actually form or have a great
Your opinion.
impact on your opinion and how you view things. But it's all right for me to rag off against this newspaper and this app that's on my little smartphone. But there is, if you look around, like you said, you go across the board looking at this, looking at that, there is some excellent journalism that's been done online. There are some terrific essays of current affairs that you can find online. I believe that there is some journals and periodicals that more like the little sort of journal magazines that you can buy on current affairs and news and opinions. It's worthwhile. So you can find somewhere where people are actually reporting and giving you a very good account of what's going on. And in some cases, they are able to very articulately state their opinion on what's happening according to the event that they're reporting about. So it is there, but you have to go looking for it and spend quite a little bit of time. One of the problems with that, of course, is that, all of us have, this is a good topic for us to discuss one day.
Let me write it down.
I believe every man, every woman is a philosopher simply because they have a view on something or most things in life. If you were to ask anybody, what's your opinion on the state of politics in Australia at the moment, they would say, blah, 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 whatever. They give you their evaluation. That comes from a philosophical perspective, if you like. What's your view on climate change? What's your view on nuclear power? What's your view on this sporting team? Who's going to win the French Tennis Open and why? So when you have that within you, everything that you look at in terms of news or current affairs that you read or hear, you evaluate it through your values and your own bias. We're all biased. Now, that's not wrong. That's just how we are built, wired, and how we look at things. And so one of the problems that I find for myself personally, and I think others probably do too, is that when I find some source that's giving me the news that I like it because of the way I look at things from my perspective and my views and understanding. And then, of course, I go back there the next day, and I start to find my view is confirmed inside my own little echo chamber. So then I have to go, stop it, slap. I'm going to go over and look at these people over there and these people over there.
Absolutely. So you and I, we talk about it regularly because you have your reader material and I have mine. And sometimes we connect, sometimes we don't. And we say, well, that's who you've been reading and you've been following and I've been following another one. But like you're just saying, yes, I think it's important that you hear both sides of it because then you can get the full picture. Like I could do that with US politics with me, quite easy just to stay on one side. But you've got to understand that the Democrats and the Republicans are chalk and cheese.
See, when I was teaching history, I would say at high school level, I'd say to the kids, it's quite important when the newspapers or the news app on the internet or your smartphone put something forward, often the writer will put forward the news or the reporting of that event according to their philosophical position or political position that they stand on. I mean, take, for example, let's take something a little bit neutral here so we don't get too controversial. Let's say, for example, we talk about the crazy president down there in Argentina, Milei, that we don't know too much about, really, because we haven't looked at him.
He likes giving away chainsaws.
Yeah, well, see, you'll read, because we don't get much, we will read in our mainstream general newspapers or media outlets that here's a crazy guy who's got wild hair, terribly unfashionable sideburners, and he's got a chainsaw for his political campaign.
I know.
But nobody, where do you go to find out that this guy might just be doing that to get attention, but underneath he's actually a very astute political operator with some good policies? Where do we find that out?
You've got to go searching. You've got to dig. You've got to look at all areas of who this man is. And that's what I do with the news. I don't just read a line. I read it all and then go to the other side. American politics have really taught me have to embrace both sides because even on the other side, there's some truth there. But it's how they twist it and they turn it and they try to present it to you and you go, oh, that looks good, until you open it up and it's full of shite. It's horrible. It's going to take from you. It's crazy. And I think news, you've got to embrace the news. With politics, you have to vote. Don't think your vote doesn't count. It does count. count. There's a lot of them. They're tight races. We are now starting to understand the true potential of who we are and where we're going to go. We have a say instead of being a dumbass and do nothing.
Well, we believe that, but I just wonder about young people who are coming through. I mean, this election that we just had in Australia this year saw a whole bunch of young people who voted for the first time. Now, they're people who are coming out of school or have just come out of school. A lot of them are facing the fact that they'll never be able to afford to buy a house, to call a home. A lot of them have done very well at school and are facing the prospect of having very insecure employment for the rest of their life. So they've had two stable platforms of life pulled out from underneath them before they even get to, say, 21 or 22. Then they look at the news, which primarily is portrayed, particularly on the 6 o'clock evening news on television, as, I'd say, 15% disasters and horrible stories.
Do you ever watch that?
Seldom.
I never watch it.
Because I don't like their bias for a start, and I don't like the fact that it's not comprehensive. So a lot of these young people these days don't trust the news. They don't want to know the news. They say, why should I bother to find out what's going on? Why should I bother to buy this state newspaper? Why should I bother to...
I'm glad you bought it.
Yeah, why would I bother to read the ABC News headlines on my smartphone? I tell you what, I'm going to go onto TikTok. I'm going to go onto Instagram.
Check the reels out.
Yeah, check the reels out. I'm going to go onto Facebook. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, and I think I've heard somebody say this, I heard it. I heard this on Facebook. It's truth.
And you do.
I can't blame these young people for thinking, I just don't want to know.
Clickbait, clickbait, clickbait.
I think they just don't want to know. And I see a lot of them are living in vans, and they've got this kind of groovy style with all the clothes that they're getting out of opportunity shops and Salvation Army stores, and they get around with vans, and they're all talking to each other, they're networking, and they're going surfing, they're living on the beach. Can't blame them, man, because they're just saying, you know what, there's no real future out there for me. Why should I bother to try and get a career and save money to try and buy a home?
Yeah, well, we had Zach on a few weeks, well, not a few weeks ago, back in January, and aired his episode. So interesting to hear what he had to say.
Yes.
Going back to what you're saying about the election, again, that was unheard of. To Labor to romp home the way it did, to have the power now that it has. It's not scary yet, but it could be.
Yeah, Albo, if you're listening, I would say look after the economy, slam the Liberal Party and the National Party for telling the Australian people for years and years that they are very good at looking after the nation's economy, because they're not. Because when they were in charge of the Australian government for 10 years, the cost of living became out of reach for a lot of people, and so did home affordability. And that all happened under the National Liberal Party, who continually try and tell the Australian people that they are the better managers of finances. So, Albo, if you want to win the people over, talk about cost of living, talk about how you can improve housing, affordable housing, and forget about a whole lot of other things, because what was that famous political line? It's the economy, stupid.
Well, this is what happens when you leave Keith in charge. You've got to go with it.
Don't get me started, man. I mean, I tell you,
it's Latham and Mullies. Don't get me started.
I was this thing bubbling up inside me. I want to talk about how democracy is dead now that we're talking about politics. That's questionable, but I'll talk to you about that over a G&T.
A G&T. I'd love that.
Because we don't do politics here, do we?
No, we don't do politics, sex, or religion.
All those great subjects.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we gave it a little bit of a shake today, didn't we?
Mate, yeah, I think so. We've had a good old go reviewing the news too. I think we've exhausted it as much as we can. It's been great to see you lead, Mully.
Well, thank you very much. I've quite enjoyed being in the power seat. And Lee, so we have come to the end of the episode, which has been very good to share with you. And thank you, listeners. As always, we appreciate you tuning in, and we also value hearing from you. So if you have liked some of the topics that we've talked about today, or you want to disagree or put forward another point of view, we'd love to hear from you. Please email at lethalandmullylive@gmail.com. That's all lowercase, Lethal and Mully Live, all running into one word, lowercase, @gmail.com. So I'd love to hear from you. And until we do, please look after yourselves and be kind to one another.